Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters, to a new episode of your program FlashBack. This is your host, Omar Khalid. In this program, we talk about the lessons that we learn from the first generations, but this time we are going to talk about a hadith or a saying by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the concept or the theme of this beautiful story, a real story, is related to the point of that your deeds are never wasted. So if you're sincere to Allah, don't worry, everything is recorded, and you're going to have the blessing of your deeds in this world and in the hereafter. Before getting to the story and about the lessons learned from that, we would like to welcome our guest and your guest, Sheikh Rifat. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure always to be with you.
It's my honor. And it's really beautiful to talk about this point, because we are always afraid, and especially if people, they are watching us and they always do worship, acts of worship, they want to get close to Allah, that maybe our deeds are not accepted, maybe because we didn't see an effect, so that means Allah doesn't like us. So let's go to the story.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, it happens to all of us usually, and many times that we think, mashallah, we do lots of good deeds, but we don't see we don't see the fruit of these good deeds here very soon after we do it. But this is definitely needs us to have a good trust on Allah Azza wa Jal, that whatever we do, it will always fall in the hands of Allah. Whatever we will do in this dunya, and it's good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it definitely, and He will subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us for every single thing that we do. And that's what we said, nothing is going to be wasted, everything is written, no matter what we do, except that we will see that inshallah in our scale, and it will affect our life in a way that we even don't feel. So for example, when you are actually doing your obligations, mashallah, very good, you give charities, alhamdulillah, and you do your best in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What you will see when you wake up in the morning and you see yourself healthy and your kids are healthy and you're able to eat and to find food in your fridge, that is actually, it's a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal. You are able to open your eyes and you see your kids safe and everybody is safe, your house is okay. That is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we do is, usually the blessings of Allah are continuously happening to us without us feeling. That's why we need to acknowledge these blessings and to remember that Allah Azza wa Jal does not, nothing is wasted in His, when it comes to the reward bi'iznillah. So for this point is, we can say the story. And the story is a man from the previous generations. The man, he was very sincere and very keen person, and he wanted to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that no one will be able to see it. So what he did, he decided to give sadaqah. So he came out in one of the darkest nights, and he usually chooses the dark time so that nobody will see him, nobody will see what he's doing. And this is also will remind us with hiding our good deeds. It's to do this for Allah Azza wa Jal. You don't want people to know that you are actually giving a charity for someone, or helping someone, or said something good to the people in a presence of a group of people, so that you give them a good advice. You don't go out and you say, I did. Allah doesn't like people who say, I did. We need to make sure that sincerity is happening. So this man, he had that worries inside himself. He doesn't want people to see him giving. And we know people who mashallah do that, and they don't expose what they have given. And which is actually, as we mentioned earlier before, that if you give something fi sabilillah, Allah Azza wa Jal will reward you, that you will be under His shade when there is no shade except Allah's shade. If you given something with your right, and your left did not know what your right has given. So here the man, he went out and he was looking for people who would receive his sadaqah. So he, first time when he went out in the dark night, he gave his charity, and it fell in the hands of a thief person, someone who is known as a thief. So that thief, the robber, when he saw the man giving him that charity, he was surprised, so he took it. And what happens afterwards, in the morning, people spoke about that situation. They said, تصدق الليلة البارحة على سارق. So they said, someone who is a thief has received sadaqah last night. Yani someone gave him sadaqah. Nobody knows who was that, but the people know that sariq, the thief. So they didn't know who gave the thief the sadaqah. So they kept on talking, last night someone gave sadaqah to someone who is a thief. So the man in the morning heard what the people are saying. So he said, I have given my sadaqah, and it came out to be in the hand of a thief. So he was actually upset within himself, and he thought that, you know what, maybe Allah did not accept my sadaqah. That's why it went in the hand of the thief. So he was complaining inside himself, and he was not happy. He was worried. So he decided to give another sadaqah in another night. And again, he leave it until everybody is resting and it's dark. So he went out again and he wanted to give a sadaqah. So when he wanted to give the second sadaqah, it happens that it was given to someone who's a businessman. Like some businessman, he doesn't need sadaqah. So he gave that sadaqah to a businessman. So something is strange. He's still insisting that he gives his sadaqah, hiding himself, and also going at night when nobody can see him. So that's the second time he gave it, and it fell in that businessman's hand. So what happens here? In the morning, he wants to hear what the people will say. So the people said, تصدق البارحة على تاجر. So they said, someone has given sadaqah to a businessman. So again, he was upset within himself. Subhanallah, I give another sadaqah, and it falls in the hands of someone who's a businessman, meaning that he does not deserve that sadaqah because he's rich, definitely, as a businessman. So he was actually blaming himself. Subhanallah, Allah is not accepting my sadaqah. And again, it did not get to the right hand. It went to someone who is already rich and is already capable. So what happens here? He decided again to give another third sadaqah. So in the third night, he gave a third sadaqah. And he went out in the dark night and he gave that money to a woman. So that woman is like, he saw her and he thought that she deserved, so he gave that sadaqah to the woman. So when he gave that sadaqah to the woman, in the morning the people were talking about that sadaqah. So they said, تصدق البارحة على زانية. So they said the people were talking about it. He doesn't know what kind of woman is that. So the people were talking that is, the sadaqah was given last night to a prostitute woman, someone who is like in the society is not is someone who's not like well known and is just known for the evil side. So he himself was actually even more sad and even more worried that his sadaqah did not also fall in the right hand, and it went to someone who is like doing sinful act of adultery. So what he kept on blaming himself that now all his sadaqat is given either to a thief or a businessman or a prostitute woman. So afterwards, Allah Azza wa Jalla inspired that man, that is all your sadaqat that you have given, it has fallen in the right place, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a very good benefit of what you have done. So the first one, which was a thief, when he received the sadaqah, he felt so shy and he felt something is happening to him. So that sadaqah that was given to him made him change, and he stopped robbery and he changed to be a good person, and he started working and spending on himself and his family, and instead of being a thief. So instead of robbing people, so he started to be a new person as an effect of the sadaqah of that righteous man who was hiding his charity. And the second man who was a tajir, he was a very stingy person, bakhil. He was very tight hand. He doesn't give, he doesn't share, he doesn't give any charity for the sake of Allah. When that man came and gave him a charity, he felt so bad. I am a man who's rich, look rich, and he's capable of giving and helping and supporting people. And by chance it happened that I received sadaqah from someone. So that sadaqah from that righteous man installed in the heart of that businessman to be like him, to give fi sabilillah and to open his hands instead of being stingy. So he started giving charity for the sake of Allah, and he became much better person as a result of the sadaqah of that innocent, righteous person. So the third woman, who was a prostitute woman, Zaniya, when she got the sadaqah, she used to work in this field of prostitution because of her family, to spend on her children. So what she did, when she received the sadaqah from that person, she felt so emotional, and she felt that she is doing so much mistake, and that Allah Azza wa Jalla is capable of providing her no matter what she will do. So she doesn't need to go and do sinful acts in order to spend on her family, because Allah will send her the money to her hands without her actually going out. So people who will be obligated to do such sinful act, they should not at all, they must stop any evil actions, and if they are worried about the provision and rizq, Allah will send it to them. So the woman who used to be prostitute, she discovered in herself that she's far away from what Allah wants her to be as a pure and a clean woman, and instead of doing the sinful act of prostitution, so she decided to stop and to quit, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will be her provider, as the case with the money that she received from that man. So the three events, they were all affected the three individuals, and all of them changed to be a better person, or someone who is able to give, or someone who is able to protect herself from committing any sin. And that is basically the story that we can actually comment more on it.
Inshallah. So we have several comments to talk about this, Sheikh Rifat, but we have to go for a short break and come back.
Right.
So we're going to have a short break. Dear brothers and sisters, stay tuned to know other comments from Sheikh Rifat about this beautiful story. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. After the break, we were talking with Sheikh Rifat about how to hide your deeds, and at the same time that if you spent this money with a good intention, it's not going to be wasted. But what if somebody asked, okay, does that mean that I don't have to go and check and do research and know if this maybe charitable organization or this person needs this money?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Definitely, we always need to ask and check before we give. So what happens here is the person who, there are lots of good organizations that deals with distributing the charity of the people. So we are in need to make sure that what money we give is, inshallah, is going to fall into the right place. But here in this case of this man, is like as an example, he just choose to give at night when nobody will see him. So it happens that he did not intend to give his money to a thief or a zaniya, a prostitute woman, or a businessman, but Allah made that happen, so that Allah Azza wa Jal, from His wisdom subhanahu wa ta'ala, that something will happen to these individuals, that they will receive the charity from that man. But in our case, we need to make sure that when we give a charity, we give it into the right people, the right place, because there are people who are outside there begging and asking, and they actually deceive the people in order to take and make wealth out of their begging. And there are people who actually will look that they really need, and we may know them. So it's always good to ask and to check on those, because there are lots of people who are orphans or masakeen, and they actually their dignity does not allow or permit them to go out and ask. So we need to check on those families, those sisters or brothers or orphans. We need to check on them, because they may be having a good house, but at the same time they are not able to afford to pay their bills or to pay for the food. So we need to make sure that we check on before we go ahead and give a charity. And in some cases, if you are somewhere and you see some beggars in the streets, some of them are taking it as a job, as a mean of living, and even they are building and making wealth out of that. So, and some of them are actually really sincere, and they are not actually that bad. So we should not look at them with any ugly eye. We should actually respect them, and we make dua for them. And whatever we can share, it doesn't have to be big, but we may give them something. But in the main sadaqah, the main charity, the main zakah, the large amounts, we should always check before we give. So there are charitable organizations out there that deserve and need our help and our support, because they depend on the charity of the people, and they depend on the donations. So those ones, if we are not giving them help and donations, and we don't check on them and we don't see them, then it's going to be a problem for the community. So we have to check and to make sure that they are charitable, or they are non-profit organizations that help the community and take care of it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us anyhow. Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to reward us, as in this case. The man's charity fall in different hands, and though that happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it a great benefit out of that charity of that sincere man. So the sincerity from the man made his charity fall into 3 different individuals. Each of them returned back to Allah, made tawbah, and became a much better person after the charity that he received. So it's all for us that we should not ever think that what we give is not going to go any khair for us. Absolutely wrong. We will gain the khair of that charity soon or later, or a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. As the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that it could be a half date that will save you in the hereafter, that it will save you from fire, will put you in Jannah. A small charity could cause our deceased or somebody who is sick from the family to be cured, inshallah. As the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged, "Dawu mardakum bis-sadaqa." Seek the recovery for your sick person is through sadaqat. So sadaqah always we are winning always with sadaqah. So don't say, you know what, I should not have given that person 50. I should have given him 20. Don't say that.
SubhanAllah.
And alhamdulillah, that's his rizq. Give, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace you. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَمَا أَنفَقْتُمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُ. Whatever you spend for the sake of Allah, definitely Allah Azza wa Jal will give you a replacement for that. And always that sadaqah, it doesn't matter, give it to old man, young man, rich or poor, it will have an effect, especially if you intended it sincerely to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is needed always the most, sincerity when you do something, inshallah.
It's a great distinction, Sheikh Rifa, between the faqir and miskin. That the poor and impoverished, because some people, they think that when I give charity, I have to give it to somebody who is homeless, he doesn't have any meal, now he's about to die. No, it's not the only way.
So sadaqah and zakah is not to be only given to someone who's like, his condition is collapsed. It can be given to someone who's like wearing nice clothes, driving a car, and in the same time have a good house. Why? Because that person, he could be in, if we check on him, especially the people that we know, could be this person is barely finding food to eat, barely finding gas to fill his tank, barely finding ability to find a job, and so on and so forth. So if we know of a person who is having an income, and his income is not sufficient to pay his bills, to cover his cost of his food, his kids' education, believe me, those people deserve our charity, deserve zakah, subhanallah. And also we tell our brothers and sisters, when you give a charity or zakah or sadaqah, don't let the people know that this is a charity, you are actually giving zakat money to them, sadaqah, and you are actually make them feeling so bad. What you do is always try to give it as a form of gift, or as in an indirect way that they would not feel bad about getting that money from you or that help and that support. So it's always very important to make sure that we have these considered, inshallah.
MashaAllah. I heard before about the sincerity of some people when they give charity that to someone in America. He used to be like an old person living there. He used to pay like $1,000 for each, like, let's say, project of the community. And maybe some of them they pay, like he pays $10, and the third one, 1,000. So one of the officials, he like felt it's weird. Why is he like picking just one of the projects, 1,000, all of the other like only 10? So he came to him and asked him, what's this about? This is between you and me. He told him, look, whatever I feel like I'm convinced with, I see like it's really very good for the poor, very good for the community. I'm convinced, I pay the 1,000. When I feel I'm not convinced, I don't stop. I don't say, no, I'm not going to pay, because I'm not 100% smart or intelligent. This is maybe the way that I see stuff, but Allah knows the best. Maybe the $10 are going to be in the best door of charity, or the best door of the goodness and something that will benefit other people. So this shouldn't actually discourage us. This should encourage us that even if you pay something and you feel that you're not 100% convinced, maybe at least there's a percentage of this person is going to use this money.
So it's always very good that we don't quit or think, is this one maybe you don't deserve, so I will put in only in one section. Always keep your hands open for different things. So you don't say, you know what, I'm going to spend all my money in one direction. No, try to benefit as much as you can different causes. So if there is like causes for, like we have in the communities, if there is a cause for masjid, that's masjid. So it means taking care of the whole masjid, maybe paying for the masjid utilities and paying for the masjid structure, paying for the masjid rent if it's rented, paying for the masjid for the workers inside the masjid salaries, and taking care of those ones who are actually running that masjid. It is very important that you give to the masjid. So I say, I don't know, I'm not going to give to the masjid, I will give sadaqah only, I will give zakat only to the poor people. So, but your community also is in need of your help and your donations, because it's establishing. Nobody else is paying for the masjid there. There is no waqf. There is no structure. There is no ministry that is spending on the masjid. It's you as a community. It's you as individuals. So you spend from that money for that reason. And in the same time, you're giving also a charity for someone who's in need, or orphans and so on, or taking care of a family that you know somewhere in the world or inside your town. And also, we don't think away, and we have somebody close to us that is really in need. For example, a relative. Our relatives deserve our sadaqah the most, because they have rights upon us. The right of being a close family member, maybe your sister, maybe your brother, maybe your nephew or your niece. Maybe they are struggling with education, they cannot spend on themselves, even though they look happy and they look rich, but they don't really have the means, and they don't have enough to spend on their education, and sometimes they have to cancel some subjects or some travel because of the lack of wealth. So what happens here, we check on that and we try to do something. And also, when we have somebody in calamity or a problem, lost his car, lost his truck, or having any difficulty with his business, and he's really in need, and he put himself in different debts, has to go to the bank and borrow money with interest. So what you do, you try to help those people. As Allah said, وَالْغَارِمِينَ, Allah Azza wa Jal said, and those who are in debts, you should help them. So that is different means, different ways. The main thing is that when you do it with a sincerity, because Allah Azza wa Jal is waiting for us to lend Him. Well, how do we lend Allah? Allah is the King. He doesn't need our support, but it means that we help and we support those who are in need, and this way Allah Azza wa Jal will accept that from us. Amazing. And He Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will replace us much, much more.
That's so beautiful. And the point of paying off the debts of some people, it can be also the door of hiding the good deeds, that I can go maybe to a supermarket and I ask him, bring me the names of those who didn't pay their debt since maybe months and months.
Exactly.
And I can pay off and don't say that somebody...
Yes, we do have that in Canada or in America. You see that in every big store or a small store, there is like a big donation box that people, when they are actually shopping, while they're shopping, they select some items, non-perishable items, and they put them in that box. That box goes to the homeless shelter, or to the shelter, or to the poor people, to the needy, to the organization that distribute that to the needy that they know. They have records and they have files. So it's always good to do things like that. So also here, like here in the Middle East countries, like you go to a certain shop, there is like a list of people who are actually struggling to pay their bills. So you can go and pay the debts of someone. So like, oh, there is 1,000 here for this person. He took stuff for his food and his items, but he's not able to pay. So you can pay that without them knowing, and the person will say, you know, as you are paid off, someone paid, Allah paid for you.
So beautiful, mashallah, Sheikh. Thank you so much for the time flight with you. And inshallah, until next time, we hope to have another stories, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for tuning in this beautiful episode talking about sincerity, and that can change your life in this world, your conditions, and also in the hereafter. Until next time, the flashback. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.